It's 15 minutes after the hour of 12 p.m. You're locked on to the Clean Fresh Song WEFM 99.9. At this time, we have our midday news coming to you with the kind compliments of Courts St. Vincent Limited.
Good afternoon and welcome to WEFM's Midday News, brought to you with the kind compliments of Court St. Vincent Limited.
When you're behind the wheel, stay alert. Driving safely should always be your top priority. Protect yourself and other road users by keeping your attention on the road. Stay alive. Avoid distractions like cell phones and maintain a safe distance from other vehicles. Only overtake when it is absolutely safe to do so. And remember to be on the lookout for motorcyclists. The life you save today may be yours. Alert today, alive tomorrow. This message is brought to you by AKT Motorcycles, available at courts.
Welcome back to WEFM's Midday News, brought to you with the kind compliments of Court St. Vincent Limited. I am your presenter, Rajiv Providence. First, on the local scene. The Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, the RSVGPF, is currently investigating a tragic incident that occurred on July 18, 2024, resulting in the death of Sergio Scarano, a 59-year-old carpenter from Italy. According to police, Mr. Scarano was employed at the Soho Hotel on Canouan, where he was reportedly working on repairs to the hotel's roof damaged by Hurricane Beryl. During this work, he slipped and fell to the ground. Police officers responded to the scene promptly upon receiving the report and found Mr. Scarano lying motionless on his left side. Medical personnel who arrived at the scene pronounced him dead. A post-mortem examination will be conducted to determine the exact cause of death. The RSVGPF, in their official release, expressed their deepest condolences to Mr. Scarano's family and colleagues during this difficult time. Authorities have indicated that further updates will be provided as the investigation progresses. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves is calling on persons here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines not to use this period after the passage of Hurricane Beryl as an opportunity to abandon their elderly relatives. He made the call during Parliament on Thursday, July 18th, while discussing the shelter situation, where he noted that 19 persons are currently being housed in guest houses, most of whom are elderly. We hear more from the Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, it is with regret that let me just say this. There are persons at the various schools in Kingston Government, JP Eustace Secondary, Belmont Government, and the Calico Anglican School and Calico Town Hall. There are persons, many hundreds of persons there from the Southern Grenadines. We have 19 persons, mainly elderly, in guest houses coordinated by the Ministry of Tourism as part of the sheltering arrangement for vulnerable persons. I want to urge families with elderly persons, please don't use this as an opportunity just to bring your elderly parent or grandparent or elderly family member and leave them to be taken care of when it is possible for you to do so yourself. That's a painful subject.
That was the Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. The Prime Minister addressed a similar situation back in 2021, when persons who were evacuated due to the eruption of the La Sofia volcano abandoned their elderly parents and even grandparents in shelters that were temporarily set up for volcano evacuees. Prime Minister Gonsalves at that time noted that the elderly were not the only ones who were abandoned. He said that there were mothers and fathers who abandoned their children at the shelters. A psychosocial intervention program targeting households affected by the passage of Hurricane Beryl will commence on Monday. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, while speaking in Parliament on Thursday, said that training of facilitators for this program had started on July 17th. According to Prime Minister Gonsalves, 100 facilitators are participating in this training. He said that the program, dubbed the Return to Happiness Program, aims to provide psychosocial support to all children affected by Hurricane Beryl, whether they are residing in public shelters or in private housing. We hear more from the Prime Minister.
There is the issue, a very critical issue, psychosocial interventions for the affected households. As of July the 17th, 2024, the Return to Happiness program, there's a program which we have dubbed that Return to Happiness program, master training exercise commenced for 100 facilitators. The program seeks to provide psychosocial support to all children affected by the passing of Hurricane Beryl, whether in the public shelters or in private home placement. We're doing the facilitators now. The actual program with the psychosocial interventions will commence on Monday, the 22nd.
That was the Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. The Prime Minister also noted that child-friendly spaces will be established following the completion of the Return to Happiness program. Men and women's empowerment programs for the affected adult population will start from July 29th. Prime Minister Gonsalves also disclosed that councillors have commenced engagement with impacted households in 54% of public shelters, and that arrangements have been finalized in collaboration with the Ministry of Health to determine the logistics for establishing counseling services on all Grenadine islands. On to news in the region. The Antigua and Barbuda government is optimistic about LIAT 2020 starting commercial operations in early August, pending a response from the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB. They propose using funds from an escrow account held by the CDB and regional governments to settle severance payments for former LIAT employees. Despite ongoing negotiations, the CDB clarified it only provided consent for aircraft sales and isn't involved in LIAT 2020's financing or operations. Antiguan Prime Minister Gaston Brown advocates for reallocating funds from the escrow to pay severance, but faces opposition from the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, which demands full severance for ex-employees, including pilots. Vector control efforts are being intensified across Jamaica following Hurricane Beryl, which has led to a surge in mosquito breeding sites. Jamaica's Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, highlighted this increase during a press briefing on July 18th at the ministry's New Kingston office. He noted that before the hurricane, mosquito breeding sites were minimal, but now numerous containers have become breeding grounds due to rainwater accumulation. Jamaica's health ministry is particularly concerned about cryptic breeding sites, like underground drains and remote areas that are difficult to detect. The Aedes aegypti mosquito, responsible for dengue fever, is expected to proliferate alongside other vectors, such as flies and rats. Jamaica's southern parishes, heavily affected by dengue and the hurricane, are receiving priority for interventions. These include deploying 400 additional vector control workers to treat breeding sites and increase fogging activities. Private pest control operators are also being engaged to reinforce these efforts. On the international scene, major airlines have grounded flights across the US, citing communication issues caused by a global IT outage. The outage, which has also affected banks and emergency services around the world, has been caused by a faulty software update from cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike. Delta Airlines, which is the world's second biggest carrier by passenger numbers, said all of its flights were paused. American Airlines grounded its flights earlier but says it has now resumed service. CrowdStrike has apologized and released a statement saying that the issue has been identified and isolated and a fix has been deployed. It is not currently known when the issue will be resolved. Around the world, thousands of travelers have been affected. U.S. tourist Stephanie Thompson was unable to board her flight back to Dallas following a holiday in the UK. A spokeswoman for Los Angeles International Airport said that some flights are taking off and landing, indicating that the issue is primarily affecting airlines rather than airports. United Airlines has also been affected by the tech outage, along with a number of smaller carriers. The first indication of the CrowdStrike issue affecting U.S. airlines emerged late on a Thursday when U.S. airline Frontier had a major technical outage and affected its operations. Globally, more than 1,300 flights have been cancelled. Finally, in sports, AC Milan have signed Spain forward Alvaro Morata from Atletico Madrid on a 4-year contract with an option for a further 12 months. The Serie A side triggered Morata's release clause, which was reportedly external about £11 million in order to sign him. The 31-year-old captained Spain to victory in Euro 2024 earlier this month. Morata made his professional debut with Real Madrid and has also played for Juventus and Chelsea. He won the Champions League twice in 2 spells at Real Madrid and lifted the Italian title twice with Juventus. Morata, who won the FA Cup with Chelsea, has scored 36 goals in 80 matches for Spain. This has been WEFM's Midday News. I have been your presenter, Rajiv Providence. Join us again at 3 o'clock for WEFM's 3 p.m. news. WEFM's Midday News is brought to you with the kind compliments of Court St. Vincent Limited.
It's the Quartz Appliance event. Cook it, try it, bake it on a new Mabe 30-inch gas stove for only $2,399. Stack it, pack it, and chill it with a Frigidaire 12 cubic foot fridge for $2,799. Laundry piling up, wash it, spin it, dry it, and save $400 with this Mabe 19 kg top load washing machine. Now only $2,399. Get it now and pay later. It's the Quartz Appliance event only at Quartz.